Welcome to another weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. We are the premier podcast focused on the hobby of collecting autographs and photo ops from celebrities. We talk about on-the-street encounters, conventions, private signings, and everything else about the hobby. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And to begin our third year of Marked Out Radio, we're going to hit on a topic that has come up multiple times before. I actually think one time previously with this person, Livvy Dunne, who once again posted on social media complaining that she gets followed in the airport. And this sparked a whole conversation on Marked Out.
Yeah, I think honestly she may have done this exact same thing right around this time of year, because I feel like her ad to Fanatics Fest, which, spoiler alert, she was added to this Fanatics Fest just a few days ago, came right after the last big hullabaloo about her being followed in the airport.
Do you think there's a connection in some way? Well, if I'm getting followed, I might as well get paid.
I think there's probably something to it. I never want to sort of explain away the autograph hounds being creepy and inappropriate, because to be completely honest, that's kind of what we do best. Like as a hobby, as a community, we're kind of creepy and inappropriate. That's sort of what makes successful graphers successful. So it's all true in that regard. But I mean, like, you know, Leo DiCaprio was chased through the streets of every country he goes to. This is kind of the price of fame. And I'm, as I've said 75 times on this show, she's or anyone is not obligated to do anything. But I think the whole, like, I'm a victim, I'm on TikTok now crying about my tough life and what I have to deal with is always something I'm not super receptive of.
I will say, because she kind of presented evidence. She took video of the crowd. They were absolutely unhinged. And they also, the funny thing was, we have spoken about, they have the right to sign and they also have the right to say no, right? So one of the things that I noticed was these people were not taking no for an answer.
That is fair. I have no problem with the public shaming aspect of it. Honestly, if more celebrities that don't want to be bothered, if they would just turn their cameras on, hit record, and then post the faces and the people that are there bothering them, some of them would have some shame. Guys like Class 316 and Cameron, they don't care. If anything, it's a badge of honor for them. But some of the people that have like actual jobs and things that wouldn't maybe want their boss seeing their face on TMZ, like harassing someone in an airport, may think twice the next time. I'm all for that. But like she was making it a whole thing about should a woman have to change her life because men can't accept the word no. And like, I don't really think it's a male or female dynamic at play here. It's famous versus people that want to be around the fame for profit or clout or whatever. And I think she's trying to make it very 2026 of let's hit the buzzwords. I'm a woman who feels unsafe. I mean, literally, you're in an airport. You're not getting attacked. Like, there's cops and security and TSA, and there's people all over the place. Nothing's going to happen. It's an inconvenience. It shouldn't be treated as a safety concern in an airport.
Yeah, I mean, historically, the people who were most hounded historically in airports, there are three. The Beatles, Michael Jackson, and Elvis Presley, right? They were hounded far more than anyone in the modern era. I mean, have you seen those old videos of the Beatles when they landed in the U.S. and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was bedlam.
It was actually dangerous, not fake dangerous, actually dangerous. Michael Jackson, the same thing, actually dangerous. And so, I mean, granted, I think a lot of people today generally have an overstated sense of what is dangerous compared to years ago. I think this is something that I talk about kind of all the time, not on this show or in this context, but the world is so much safer today than it's ever been in its history. That is something that is just true by literally every single metric that you have or that we have to measure such things. But no one wants to hear that because people want to perceive themselves as, I don't know, facing unique hardship or something. I don't really know what the pathology is behind that, but in any case, yeah, Livvy Dunne had probably 20 or 30, maybe closer to 20 people waiting for her. They were all, I would say not all, but mostly men of, dubious or limited intellect, drooling as they are, or as they tend to. And, so she has the right to be repulsed. But I think there's a difference between being repulsed by someone or being in danger of that person. Those are different things. And, while people like Cameron and like the graphers, they tend to be repulsive, they do not tend to be particularly dangerous. Yeah. And I know for a young girl that distinction is often challenging because she's a young girl at the end of the day. She's not, she's early 20s, I guess. But at the same time, you're in a public place and you're famous. And not only are you famous, but you want to date famous as well. It wasn't like she found a dude at the local, library and started dating him and wanted to live a quiet life, somewhere. That's not what she's going for. And so it's just hard to have too much sympathy when, they're choosing this life that will deliberately continue to put them in the spotlight.
Yeah, and let's not act like clout isn't a two-way street. And I think as a 20-something-year-old girl in the social media era, I think being able to say, like, I can't even get off a plane, I'm such a big deal. Like she's outwardly crying for help, but I think she's also kind of like flexing a little bit. Like, oh, look at me, it's so hard being like the Beatles, I'm a superstar. And I don't want to generalize, but something tells me in about 20 years' time, she's probably going to have a little more elbow room by baggage claim. These guys are not going to be chasing her in her 40s.
I think 20 years. You're being very generous.
I am. I try to be very progressive, but let's, you don't see the actresses the age of Al Pacino being hounded like Al Pacino. Men kind of have a better expiration date, let's just say, for better or worse. And she being a gymnast and people chasing her, probably having watched zero gymnastics, unless it would be in like a, inappropriate kind of way. I just don't think she's going to have a long time dealing with this problem.
Right. So again, we've kind of flogged this topic to death, but it continues to draw attention. I think because once again, this is one of those things that holds a mirror up to people in the hobby, where lots of people like to differentiate themselves.
I'm not like that.
The camera, right? That's not me. I do it the right way, and it's all like, listen.
I'll be completely honest. That is me, and I am like that. And I'm sure I've repulsed and creeped out many a celebrity, and I'm fine with that.
It doesn't feel great to be in a street meeting kind of context. If you really look inward, you really examine yourself. It's not the greatest feeling, but here it goes.
Yep.
She mentioned, I don't know, I don't remember. I watched the video almost a week ago now. She expressed concern over the meta glasses.
She mentioned how they have like meta glasses on to record. That was my point. To me, she was hitting every like buzzword and phrase. Women uncomfortable by the actions of men. Meta glasses. Like everything she's hitting, it's like,
you're in the airport.
Yeah.
You're in the airport.
There's cameras everywhere.
Every square inch of the airport is under surveillance. Literally. What do you think? People are so stupid. We deserve extinction, honestly.
Maybe one of the graphers was in the bathroom doing the like Bray Wyatt like backwards crawl with their head under the stall door when the meta glasses were rolling. That might be it. If we see any like upside down videos of Livvy Dunne pissing, we'll know where it came from.
I don't know. Anyway, what else happened on the board? This was a minor one, but it seemed to piss people off. So a longtime board member, this guy's been a board member for years. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
He posted a sold out autograph ticket from Fanatics Fest for my favorite wrestler, Jey Uso, which has sold out, which shows there's really no accounting for it. Could you imagine wanting an autograph from Jey Uso? Anyway.
I actually do want an autograph from Jey Uso, but go on.
I cannot imagine why.
The retro 2-pack.
Anyway, Jey Uso autographs have sold out because again there is no accounting for taste. And what was the retail on those? 100, 120, what?
Keep talking, I will look.
It's something in that ballpark, maybe between 1 and 120, I think, for a Jey Uso autograph. Which is, I mean, frankly, to me, that's wildly overpriced. Since I would probably not even pay. Would I pay $20 for a Jey Uso autograph? Not if I had to wait in line. Anyway, they sold out at whatever price they were, and this member, he posted a
130. 130.
All right, 130. He posted an ad trying to sell his for $250, and he was kind of laughed out of our community for that. And then he posted it elsewhere for $350. So Lord knows what he's trying to do. But I did find it. Well, what is your take on this whole thing?
My take is simple. Well, first of all, I want to throw this out there again, which you are probably correct. We get so many sales posts every day that we decline, and I wanted to make a post reminding everyone how infrequent we actually accept them, to try to stop people from doing it. And you said that most of these people don't read that are making these posts because they aren't people we know. They're just whoever. And if they don't read, they probably also don't listen. But let me make this clear for everybody out there. We all like to keep the autograph collecting community more so a pleasurable place to read and see things and experiences and stuff like that. So we don't approve very much. I would not have approved this guy's post because while he's been here for a while, he hasn't done anything. He doesn't like posts that I see too often. He doesn't share things. He doesn't contribute to the radio. He hasn't bought T-shirts. He's done nothing. So I would have declined it if it wasn't an outlandish ask. So I approved it in part. I guess I kind of fed him to the lions a little bit for my own entertainment while we were sitting up on a roof in a thunderstorm. But more on that later. Personally, though, on the issue of asking $350 for something or $250 that was sold for $130, I'm all for it. If it's realistic, I don't think it is, and I don't think anyone's going to pay it. But I never have to me, there's no greed too great. If someone's going to pay, if I have a Poland Springs bottle of water and someone, because they're really thirsty, was going to give me $900 for it, I would gladly sell it for $900. Maybe I would try $910. I don't have that kind of feeling of the community deserves better. I look out for what I want, and I want to make as much money as I can. If someone out there's too dumb to realize they're being ripped off, well, that sucks for you. So I don't have a problem with it.
So here's my thing, and this is the part that I'm a little bit we kind of let this guy get fed to the wolves, but yes. Normally we have a rule: if you don't like the price, scroll and move on. I don't like the idea of someone being flamed for the prices that they post on their stuff. So why is this different? I think it's just different because it was just we kind of just knew what was going to happen, so it was funny, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't have a good reason for it besides that, and I think then he deleted it. I think I would have. I did make a post defending him, and I said, "Listen, get your money. I don't know if you will, but I hope you do, because why not? I mean, what's the difference? Only fanatics can make a killing on these tickets. The average. Look,
if anyone is dumb enough to pay $200 for a Jey Uso autograph, they deserve to not have any money.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't want to get political here, but that's the mentality. People will look at the ESPN. Oh, Shohei Ohtani shouldn't get this contract. He's making too much. I make $30 an hour. This ain't right. And the team has paid that contract off in 1 year from ticket sales and jersey sales and everything else. The owners, there's people that are making so much money, and we focus on the actual person, the player, the citizen, the scalper. How dare you make this money? Not, everything we buy from Apple, from all these big companies have tremendous markup, but we don't complain about that. It's just the person that's closer to us that we try to vilify for trying to make a buck. So I never liked that. If he was willing to get that, if he was able to get that money, I would think that's awesome. I would have been jealous I didn't buy a couple to sell for that price.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, but that's a media construct. I mean, the media loves to run with, now we're going into sports salaries, but the media loves to run with sports salaries because they seem egregious out of context. But when you put them in the context of owner profits, then they're minuscule, right?
Yeah.
And, I saw an interesting article this morning that said that, and this is totally veering off into left field here, but apparently Caitlin Clark's salary in the WNBA is something like $75,000 or $80,000, but she was paid a almost $30 million contract from Nike. And that's like a huge delta between obviously what, her marketing value versus what the team is willing to pay. And so you see, clearly, the ratings that she draws and the interest that she draws, that $70,000 was probably paid off in the first 5 minutes she jumped on the court, right?
Yeah.
And so likewise, Fanatics, as we demonstrated last week on the Jalen Brunson numbers, Fanatics is making an absolute killing on these events. Why are they allowed and not the other dude posting the thing? And I do agree, maybe there was some hypocrisy on our part, because normally I would not allow flaming like that to happen. But we both kind of saw the same thing, that he posted for 250 or whatever it was, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be funny. And it was Jey Uso. Honestly, if it was like CM Punk or Cody Rhodes, I don't think there would have been that reaction.
No,
it's not funny. But it's funny, Jey Uso, and I have a thing about Jey Uso being like the worst ever, So it's like extra funny for me. So I guess at the end of the day, this is our group, and we can do whatever we want. That's pretty much how it goes, and which is like not the greatest explanation, but that's the reality of it.
That's kind of sad. I want to make 2 points really quick. Just because I'll never have a chance to say these words again, I want to just reply to your WNBA salary thing super briefly. I think Caitlin Clark is underpaid, but I think the Angel Reese argument of like wanting NBA salaries or equivalent NBA salaries is insane, because the revenue brought in by the league is not to the NBA's level. The TV deal is not you can't. Movies would probably be a better example of the paid scale inequalities, because you'll have actresses and actors making less simply because one's the actor, one's the actress, in a movie that has the same budget, the same gross, the same everything. So it's crazy the way we as people just sort of fixate on civilians rather than corporations making money. In any case, back to what you were saying, it is our group. I guess we can do whatever we want. And it is kind of sad that in life, our only source of power comes from running a Facebook group, which is absolutely no power at all. It's like, it's funny to me. It's like saying, oh, well, we run the lemonade stand, so we can charge whatever we want. And yes, you can, but it's a lemonade stand at the end of the day.
I understand the WNBA argument was not the one I was really specifically talking about her. And the delta between what Nike is paying her and what her team is paying her is literally $28 million, because there's real value that is just not being paid, and that's the whole point.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a catch up coming in the marketing and salaries.
Yeah, especially since they did very well this year overall. Just in terms of the exposure of that league has grown dramatically. A lot of it is on her, but anyway, that's not really the bigger point. Though is we don't we begrudge workers when they make money. We don't begrudge owners when they make money, and it's very much an American cultural thing that is not true in other parts of the world. In other parts of it's an oddly American trait that we have, that actor doesn't deserve that, but the studio owner does, and the studio owner's not doing anything.
Same thing, really quick, same thing happened this weekend with the Big Rubber Guys. They released the Sting, USA Sting, 1,250 limited release, and people put them on eBay for $300 and $250 as pre-sales, and they bought a bunch to sell. And everyone's all pissed off because you're charging whatever you're charging, 6 times, 5 times the price. But what do we think? Maybe not. Actually, maybe it wouldn't be quite as good. But the major group, they're charging a pretty good markup over their cost to produce, I'm sure, and the licensing and all that. But no one's complaining about that. It's only the person, the citizen, the scalper, the nasty, dirty word, the scalper. And I don't get it.
This is the part that kills me, though. They produced a limited run for a reason, right? Artificial scarcity. That's the reason. Yes. They deliberately wanted to create this sellout hype, and they did. So it's part of their own marketing scheme.
Which Cardona admits to. He said he comments all over the place. I love it. People post the screenshots from eBay. He responds with, I love it.
Of course. Why wouldn't you? It drives interest in the product. It drives interest. If there was no interest, the scalpers wouldn't make any money, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty straightforward thing. So, look, the funny thing is when we talk about ticketing, right? Ticketmaster is the retailer. Ticketmaster engages on wide-scale scalping of its own products. It artificially changes the price of things. It runs its own scalping service on top of its own retail operation. And yet, I mean, everyone sort of universally hates Ticketmaster. But people go after scalpers with much more vigor than they do go after large companies who have the resources to really screw people. We're just dumb. Once again, I mentioned that we deserve extinction. It's a really good example of that.
Yeah.
That we lose sight of the big picture in favor of the small picture. It's annoying.
That's all the conspiracy theories of an Illuminati and all these things. That right there, whatever it is, I'm not saying it's the Illuminati, but that is, maybe it's our own, just like our own species, like, our limitations. The idea that we fixate on the low hanging fruit while you have just people in the stratosphere that are making power moves that we can't even imagine, and just laughing at all of us fixating on these little things.
There's all these great like sort of analogies about how we're very limited in our ability to understand numbers, right? And like financially, and this is something that's just numerically true, your average millionaire is much closer economically to a homeless person than they are to a billionaire, right? And like most people cannot process that billionaires are so beyond our lives and what our lives look like and how our lives function, that we actually have a hard time intellectualizing what their capabilities are. So when you have something like Fanatics, a $1 billion organization, again, Jalen Brunson is much closer to Radio Man than he is to the owner of Fanatics. Think about that financially, right? That tells you all you need to know about who you should be going after for their salary and complaining about with regard to their salary. But that's something that most people can't, and a lot of it because people really can't conceptualize large numbers. It's really hard to conceptualize large numbers,
And for the record, these points I'm making, and I think you would say the same thing. I'm not saying this about Zach. Zach's point is a fair one. Like, should this be, it's a good discussion for the hobby. I'm not saying Zach is like missing the larger picture.
What is his point though? We haven't even brought it up. What is it?
I think his point is, I'm not even sure if I know what his point is. He thinks
it was good. You know what it is?
He's creating a conversation that I think needs to happen. I think it's important. I don't like that the flaming happened because I feel like a hypocrite, but I do like the discussion of, is there a price that you ask that's like insulting to the hobby or insulting to yourself that you're not going to get the sale done? Like Zach was saying, like you could make some money, but you're going over the top and you're not going to make it. And I don't know if he was really being helpful so much as like thumbing his nose at it while sort of giving him an option of how he could have done it better. I don't think Zach's missing the larger picture. I think he's just choosing to focus on this one little thing in the hobby, which is fine. But I'm always of the belief that you let people do what they do. And if someone's dumb enough to pay it, well, I mean, sucks I didn't buy it first and sell it instead. But that's the game.
Oh, you want to be stuck underneath a Jey Uso autograph? I really think this is funnier because of the Jey Uso autograph. I wouldn't be blinking an eye if it was anyone else.
If it was Cody, I think I would have been like, yeah, no, you don't do enough to like get approved. I actually am annoyed we approved it because now it gives people hope that like don't really do anything to think they can get theirs approved as well. But
yeah, so I guess that's the point. I mean, is the point that it's overpriced? Sure, it's overpriced. I think there are ways of gently telling people things are overpriced. I think the fact that it's funny because we didn't put this on the thing, but I've been having an interesting conversation now for months with this guy on eBay. I told you a little bit about it on whatever day that was, Friday, where I have my Patrick Stewart Funkos on eBay for $2,000 each. Do I expect them to sell for $2,000 each? Absolutely not. If someone wants to pay me $2,000 for one, you're more than welcome to it. I have it up there because, number one, I believe Patrick Stewart is of the age at which if he died tomorrow, no one would be like, oh my God, I'm surprised. So I want it ready. But also it's, part of inventory management, keeping things up there. And that's why, if I need the money, if I want to move it, I can always lower the price. It's a good way to farm watchers, and also mine are the nicest ones on eBay. So there's a huge markup, but he keeps like saying, oh, when you're ready to take serious offers, let me know. And I'm like, I don't think you understand how this works. Like, I'm not really dying to sell this thing. Right? I know it's priced high. And I know I'm not receiving, because he's the guy who's messaging me is surprised that I'm not receiving offers, and I'm like, I'm not that surprised because I priced it at $2,000. What I'm telling people is I'm not interested in an offer for $900. I'm not going to accept an offer for $900. We're not even speaking the same language. So don't even try. Do I think I'm going to get $2,000? No, but that's not why I'm listing it. So do I sound like a crazy person too, or does that make sense?
No, I think it makes sense, but I think it could have the same argument against it the way Zach made it for this guy with the ticket of, isn't that excessive? You should be asking less. And
okay, and what? So what? What is that? Okay, sure. And so what?
Yeah, I mean, I have my Welcome to Derry poster still up on eBay for like $1,500. That's not selling, and honestly, I don't think I would take under $1,000 for it because I like it enough. I don't want to like get rid of it, but I have it up there because let's say someone who hits a great parlay and they want to spend their money foolishly. I mean, I'll take it. It's that simple.
Yeah, and that's really all that it comes down to. So that's that. Any other? That's it for board engagement. All right, so we had a bunch of reports this week, and obviously the story of the week is us getting Snoop Dogg on Friday. We're going to leave that for the main portion of the show, so let's do all the other reports first.
Agreed. Starting out with Robert Quinn, the gentleman we met at the New Jersey Sharpie Social, which, by the way, I look forward to our other state Sharpie Socials coming up, because it's great to put a face to the name and you see these people's reports and you know them then. It's nice. But anyway, he did the I guess I'll say the name since it's over now, the Broadway play Fear of 13 that starred Adrian Brody and Tessa Thompson. I planned on going to that show, and then I don't know, life got in the way. I never did. I have each of them already, but I wanted to get some stuff signed. Never made it. But he got Adrian Brody, and he had the Cigar Aficionado magazine, and of course, as luck would have it, the title of the interview in the magazine was kind of a little it called him a predator, which I don't know. I guess no one really wants to be called a predator, and he didn't want to sign the magazine, but he signed other merch, and that's just crappy luck by Robert that you pick the thing that happens to sort of disparage the person that you're trying to have sign it. He also got Tessa Thompson, who signed for everyone, and he got Georgina Chapman, who I believe is Adrian Brody's significant other, and he got a selfie with her. A positive feeling from the entire thing, and he didn't blame Adrian Brody because, I mean, I guess who would want to sign something calling you a predator?
To be fair, he wasn't called a predator on the cover, and
True,
wasn't the whole thing the predator because he was in the Predator movie? I think that's all it was.
That's all there was. He was never accused of anything.
No.
There was never anything.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, during that Me Too thing, everyone was getting
I don't recall Adrian Brody ever having anything like that.
Oh, that's stupid. Adrian Brody's a moron then. Come on. I thought there was at least some accusation out there, or the woman was younger than him by a lot, or something that he felt attacked. If that was just a play on the movie, then that's kind of ridiculous. But again, he doesn't know anyone anything.
No, he's never been accused of anything.
Okay, then I don't get it then. But that's weird.
So, Ken went to Nickel City Con, got a bunch of cool. He got Tia Carrera. Did you ever get Tia Carrera at Chiller?
Didn't.
I passed also, but she still looks great. He met Ron Perlman, who's his usual delightful self. Although Ron Perlman's weird because he has that gruff exterior, but then he hooks it up, so it's hard to judge. And also Juliet Landau.
And what I liked about Ken's report is he said he sort of hit a lot of names that he's passed on before, and that's something right out of my own playbook.
What? Just finally relenting on people when you're not spending enough at a show, so you keep
basically
spending.
yes. That was my Altoona plan.
All right. What else? C-Rat, once again, he did Raw and SmackDown in Atlantic City. The usual meet and greets. Charlotte Flair, Javon Evans, Kiana James, Danhausen, Cody Rhodes signed for him after SmackDown. I think it's the usual outstanding experience they provide.
Yeah, and shout out to Javon for that dude got called up and hit this like on location like sweet spot where like they'll march this guy out for 1 million of these, and that's a good place to be in. You want to be as expendable as possible, and good for him. Not expendable. You want to be as like indispensable as possible.
I was gonna say he's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, Javon's a kid, right? So he's gonna do what is asked of him. Although some of these kids, you look at those draft picks the other day, they wouldn't do anything. But he's out there making it happen. Good stuff. I guess we'll talk about. Apparently, half the board went to see Dave Portnoy. I don't really understand the draw here at all. And I clearly he is very popular with members of our group, since a lot of people actually I would dare I say more people posted meets with him than with Jet Li, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, Josh, Vinny, Salvatore, Danny, Lucas, Jan, Zach Chiera. A pretty big list. Much like you, I don't fully get the I was unaware of who he was until the book signing was announced. And of course, when book signings are announced, I look up everybody to see if it's someone I need. Because you always have to look someone up if you need them. Like, I mean, that should be the sign that you don't need them, but that's not who I am. And after this and seeing the amount of popularity, I'm like, shit, maybe I goofed. Let me look him up again. And all I saw was a guy that like eats pizza and like gets mad about politics and smokes cigars, and like, more power to the fans of him. Thank you for sharing, and it looked like a great experience, but like definitely not my bag. For people that are surprised that I didn't know him, that's not really anything. Any of those things are not things I try to have in my algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, he's very representative of I would say bro culture, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
That's just not something that I'm particularly interested in. I mean, there are all kinds of things. I mean, he has the whole thing. He takes one bite of a slice of pizza, the whole thing. And a lot of his recent popularity has come from the pizza reviews, but there's this weird like undercurrent where he likes to then make claims about basically helping make some of these places be successful after he reviews them, or like his review makes or breaks these things. I don't know. It's just not something for me, but clearly popular among our group members. So I'm not sure what that says really about me.
I think it says you're weird, which you already knew, but I
guess. I mean, part of it is like that Barstool Sports thing, and kind of the irreverent sports coverage. And I mean, look, I have. This is part of my personality, I guess. But like anyone who's like very into sports, I think is just like limited in some way, because like, especially if you're not athletic, it makes it even worse. So that's like
I think it's more surprising for me to like not have him be in my atmosphere than you. I think for you, it's more like status quo. You'd expect that. For me, it is a little surprising, I guess. But I don't know. I didn't even see like sport. I didn't see like videos on his page discussing like sports per se. It was pizza, pissed at Mamdani, like that. That's all. I mean,
that's his culture. Yeah. He's like the whole concept that he's like irreverent, or he's not politically correct. Or I mean, I guess that worked in the early 2000s because that was Barstool, right? Barstool was the whole like, because before Barstool, sports coverage was like Sports Illustrated, which was like ultra mainstream, very milquetoast, not in any way irreverent or flashy at all. And Barstool was all about swearing and being kind of irreverent and being kind of counterculture a little bit. And so that's his whole thing. He's blunt, he speaks his mind, blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, sure, I guess. But that's really all there is to it. But yeah, I mean, it's part of that whole sports culture thing, which is something I literally cannot
Yes, so I guess I'm the weird one. You're just not a sports fan. I am a sports fan who also doesn't. So I guess I'm the weird one. Truly, that's fine.
Yes. So then Jack Proctor, the man from Scotland, as we now know, he went for Metallica in Scotland. He only got Robert, right?
Yes.
I'm surprised Lars didn't stop. Lars always stops. Always. The other one's fine, but Lars always stops. I'm surprised, but he still had a great time, got a set list, the whole shebang. So it did really well.
Yes, awesome. All right, Johnny Knollwood hit Los Angeles. He did Fan Expo Anaheim for Mark Hamill largely. And I mean, Mark Hamill's a bit of a bucket list name if you haven't gotten him. There's always the talk. Someone said that might be his last show. He may have one more on the East Coast coming for people from Europe to be able to get there easier. And as Greg pointed out, he has retired like 45 times. I think when he dies is when he truly retires. While in LA, he also got Dennis Quaid, Edward Furlong, a bunch of other people. As always, you got to read these reports. We can't do justice to a 3-day just whirlwind trip like this in a segment. But he really, really, really hit some good home runs and doubles off the wall.
And lots of big names.
That's a sports reference, Sean.
Listen, I do not dislike sports. I dislike people who are irrationally fans of teams because that's weird behavior to like someone who doesn't know you exist and like actually care what happens to them is weird. I don't know. That's it.
Isn't that the same as a fan of a celebrity though? They don't know we exist and they damn sure don't care what happens to us.
What do you mean by a fan? If you cry when they do something, or when you carry on or celebrate or turn cars over in the street, if you're a fan of Scarlett Johansson and she has a big movie opening and you go out and riot in the street, yes, that you should be executed. Yes. Or something weird. What's the analogy?
So when Brendan Fraser won the Oscar and I went out and set fire to my neighbor's car and then cried,
or for example,
tears of joy in the street, that's weird.
When you're in the middle of a trip and you have to race home to watch your team from the comfort of your own couch, it's strange. It is strange behavior when there's perfectly good sports bars right there that you had to see the game live.
That's also strange behavior. That's a strange way of saying thank you for not bailing on the trip to see Game 5. That's what I could have done.
It is a strange thing. All of it is a strange thing.
Well, no, I mean, I wanted to see it with my wife. My wife and I watched every game together except for the nights she worked. She was home, so I wanted to I wanted to watch it with her like I've watched the other one. You were
working. You were working. Marked out. You were working.
True.
It wasn't just all just for sport, for fun. No, but there are people. I don't think being a fan of an actor is analogous to being a fan of a sports team. I think it requires a special kind of mental illness to be a diehard sports fan.
I think it depends ultimately how you are. I mean, I wasn't setting fire to things and running around in the streets. Like, I don't really think it's that different. I think I would have had a similar feeling if one of my favorite actors won an Oscar. I'd be excited and think that's awesome. But if you're a lunatic like that, it's definitely different.
I mean, yeah, or even like I'm trying to think of whatever. There's so many scenarios here, but the people who really truly care about the outcome of these things that don't involve them, it's just weird. Like the people get really despondent or upset when a movie doesn't open well. It's like, what's wrong with you? Or when a team loses, or when an athlete, something happens to them or they don't do well. It's like, that's the world, man. We live in an entropic universe. Stuff happens. To let things affect you like that don't matter. It's just very bizarre. Anyway, Elijah went to see 50 Cent. Where was that? Because I
know there was one in Jersey, and I'm not sure if it happened or not. I wasn't doing it, so I just read it and said, "Okay, cool." I don't know when this was or where this was. That's one of the problems with the reports that are super, super vague. But it was definitely at one of his Cognac appearances. He called him the GOAT and the chillest dude ever. And I mean, 50's pretty damn cool with these events.
And you've gotten 50 or no?
Yeah, I did him up in, where the hell was I? Yonkers, I guess? The Stu Leonards.
Yeah.
That's when we met that's when I met Mr. Chow and the Daniel Radcliffe deal was started. The pipeline that yielded and cost thousands of dollars in both directions.
It's true. What else we got? Nick met TJ Kirkland at a comedy show. That was pretty cool too.
Yeah,
a lot of people
in
who are
Missouri,
relatively
I
new.
think. In Missouri,
a lot of people relatively new to posting reports are posting this week, which I like to see.
Yeah, I love it.
Do I take care? Start the con news.
All right. Steve Grad launched a new autograph review service. It has quick opinion authentication service. There's a 24-hour review for $9, a 2-hour review for $15, which one could argue that to get the crappier, less effort job, you pay $6 more, but I get the logic. There's bulk pricing available, which, I mean, they all have bulk pricing available if you're hitting the numbers. A digital verification letter, that's a little new. Optional grading, and just in general, what do you make of this, Sean? Does the world need another authenticator?
So we actually have to give some context here. So Steve Grad was one of the main authenticators for PSA for years, back when PSA was the leader in the world of authentication. He left PSA several years ago for Beckett, and he was then the backbone of Beckett Authentication Services when Beckett opened its authentication program. So at that point, PSA went downhill in its overall budgeting, and PSA had more counterfeits coming out after that. Now, is it connected to Steve Grad leaving? I'm not sure, but it was around that same time. That's when new PSA happened, when Steve Grad left PSA for Beckett. So I don't know if we actually haven't discussed this at all, and it's an oversight on my part. Beckett is in the process of being acquired by PSA. Did you know that?
I don't think I did.
So that's happening now. So I don't know if the acquisition has been completed yet, but Beckett is being acquired by PSA. And so because of that, or I shouldn't, maybe it's not, I don't know the causal nature, but in tandem with that, Steve Grad has left Beckett. So Steve Grad is no longer employed by Beckett. Therefore, he formed his own service. So just to be clear, when the way the market has worked, when PSA was the leader in the authentication market, Steve Grad was their lead authenticator. When Beckett was a leader of the authentication market, Steve Grad was their lead authenticator. Now that PSA is acquiring Beckett, Steve Grad is coming up with his own service. So that's the appropriate context, I should say.
What do you make of the service, though? Like, obviously, Steve Grad's reputation gives him an ability to sort of, bring something to the table. He kind of has like a winning touch, so to speak. But is this providing the market something that it lacks right now?
No, it doesn't. But I mean, just looking at the pricing, there's no way you're getting quality work. So Steve Grad himself is not looking at your junk in 2 hours for $15. It's not worth it. Think about what it would cost you to do something for $15, or what it would take for you to do something for $15, right? You didn't want to do people's edits for $15, right?
Yeah, back in the day, that's where I was charging. I wouldn't dream of it now.
No. So my point is, you're not Steve Grad isn't looking at anything. My guess is that he took a team of people probably from Beckett, to be fair. If Beckett is being acquired by PSA, I'm trying to see when that date happened. Yeah, so they were purchased by Beckett. PSA is owned by something called Collectors. PSA's parent, I said it wrong. PSA's parent company acquired Beckett. So they're owned by the same company now. So it's more or less about the same. In any case, I don't think this is providing anything new to the marketplace. I think you just have, a race to the bottom in terms of pricing for authentication is just going to have more fakes and more shenanigans out there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the only thing that seems to be a little bit different is it seems to be like sort of digitizing the process a little bit more, that you can get like an actual like digital letters and things like that.
Look, I think they should be doing the digital letter. It's great, but you're also, keep in mind, with a digital letter, you're also relying on that company being in business permanently and keeping their database online for all eternity, right?
Correct. Also, let's be clear with this as well. A digital letter, and I haven't seen the digital letter, but I feel like it's a little bit easier to sort of replicate and forge and copy. There's not going to be seals and holograms and things of that nature.
There are ways to do, if you do an encrypted PDF, those are unbreakable. Encrypted PDFs are unbreakable.
So we got to see it's got to depend if their security is up to snuff. And also, I'm looking at right now, Grad Collection, which is the brand of this authenticator. They have an eBay store where they sell autographs of all sorts. So,
well, isn't that what got PSA in trouble with the Pokemon card grading fiasco this year?
Exactly. So I'm saying if I go on, I'm not going to find a JSA eBay account where I can buy a Skid Row autograph. Like, they have their iron in several fires here, and I could see a problem coming from this.
It's bad. Yeah. Now, understanding the full context, this is bad. This is a grift. And the authentication companies should not be selling authenticated products. There should be a wall between those two things, I think.
Agreed.
That's how you lead to corruption. You know,
you don't see Fanatics and SW. Actually, SWAU I think is starting to do some authentication of like outside stuff. But like I know Fanatics is like super protective of their stickers.
So that's what I think of it. This is not going to lead to anything good. No. If anything, more market confusion. What else do we have? You do the next one because this is more your speed.
All right, we have NYC Paparazzi. I don't even know what her name is, but she's one of the women that we saw at the Jack Black thing. Her account is actually pretty prolific because she's out there all the time, and she has a lot of the content we'll post or I'll post on the group to Greg's chagrin. Greg 2600, that is. That's where it comes from. And she, on her account, sort of leaked the hotel info for Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway during the Odyssey promotion. This was apparently the location of the press junket. And she told people essentially that they will be out between this time and this time on this day. Show up if you want to meet them. And from what I'm hearing from people on the ground, this was not clout chasing so much as spitefulness. That there were, I guess, people there that had pissed her off or that she doesn't like or whatever. I don't want to really get into the hypotheticals, but she wanted to hurt them, spite them, sort of limit the spot, and she blew it up as best she could. I'm not sure how many people showed up as a result of this, but probably a pretty good amount. Because I had one person like DM me on Facebook and like he tried to be all slick with it. He's like, "Oh, that's terrible. Can you send me the social media account so I can report it?" And obviously he just wanted to have it because he thinks he's going to farm information from it. And I just declined and ignored the message. But I'm sure a lot of people went because of that tip. And I'm sure there were probably some difficulties at that spot as a result. And it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all for the streets that, you know, you have this happening.
I mean, this person is a deranged individual. And so I'm not surprised, really.
I'm surprised, honestly. The one thing I am surprised about, and I have to be very careful in how I word this. You're probably getting scared now because you don't know what I'm going to say. In the old days, male or female, I mean, there would have been handcuffs from someone taking matters into their own hands and like handling this because you're messing with people's money. This is people's livelihoods for better or worse. And you're going to be spiteful posting these things. I'm a little surprised that no one got arrested as a result of like, you know, retaliation for this. Like,
yeah, but she's like legit. She's legit crazy. So I think there's probably people keep a wide berth around her. You know,
yeah.
I don't care who you are. You do not engage with legit crazy because legit crazy always wins. Always at the end of the day. Because there's lengths they are willing to go to that non-crazy is not, right? And this is a weird one, you know, the hobby, the people on the streets historically have done a lot to protect their little niche and protect themselves. And, you know, it's so great because that day at Jack Black, she was like bugging out at the fact that we showed up. Meanwhile, she's just being destructive on Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take a genius. You follow her page, even when she's not like putting it in the caption where to go. I mean, you kind of, if you do NYC, like, I could see a video from any hotel, and there's several hotels that, like, this, like, 10 to 15 hotels that are options. I know what they look like. So, like, I see a video from a hotel that in real time, oh, so-and-so is at that spot. Okay. I don't go often because, I mean, it's a lot of time that I don't always have. But, I mean, you really should hold these videos. One could argue, the old school street graphers used to get mad at anyone posting stuff ever. There's graphers out there that have photo ops that they've probably never posted because, to them, people learn habits and tendencies. That's, that would defeat our purposes as a group and as a podcast if no one, shared anything. But I think there's something to be said about sharing video of hotel, like, while they're still staying there.
Yeah, I don't know. And so that's that for that circumstance. I mean, it's interesting because, again, a lot of the culture surrounding the street graphing has also kind of faded over time,
Yeah. It's a different game. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, before social media, I'm sure my reports on the forum were blowing things up. I'm sure people were figuring out to go to Gandolfini's play because of the report I made. I'm sure I did that. Here we are right now, which we talked about the Broadway show with Adrian Brody. We got listeners from freaking Scotland to who knows where listening. And I mean, old school graphers would be wanting to wring our necks as well. How dare you us discuss this stuff? This should be private. And so, I mean,
to me, though, like, OLV was doing this on such a bigger scale than any of us were, right?
Yeah, for filming and stuff. I mean, that was one little facet. And at that point, it wasn't really a little facet, but that was one part of it. We kind of hit the stuff that OLV didn't and the stuff OLV did. OLV was bigger than we were, but OLV wasn't really touching book signings and plays and all that stuff that we were doing.
There was that other book signings page that we got a lot of our info from. That was doing it. They got info on everything somehow. Remember that?
Yeah. And listen, one day I got to tell the story how, in my opinion, I aided and added in the death of Georgianne Macropolis when she got mad at me for, like, taking her list. And I probably shouldn't get into it now, but that was another thing.
I mean, now it's the perfect time to get into it.
I guess it is.
So, cause all the wrestling signings, so the promoters used to send them to Georgianne Macropolis, she was like this, I guess you would call her like a low-level journalist so she was like friends with Bill Apter or whatever. But they gave her a little thing on Wrestling Figs where she would, like, post the weekly signings where they all were, but it wasn't like she was doing any work. They were just, the promoters would email her and she would post them, and it was like a one-stop location for pretty much all the wrestling signings coming up.
And what we did, which was a great idea in theory, but actually, like, upkeeping it was a nightmare. But we, in the old days of Marked Out, we had a calendar that we were building where you would have events from all genres, wrestling, celebrity, sports, and you would click on the date and you'd see all the different things. It would have the signing, the location, whatever it was all on the calendar. So what I did, of course, I mean, why would you reinvent the wheel? I took her list and I sort of inputted it into our calendar. And she messaged me all upset about, I've worked many years putting this list together and how dare you take the list. And I remember I responded to her. I'm like, but isn't the purpose of your list is to bring awareness to the signings and to make the promoters and the talent money. And what I'm doing is just bringing more awareness to the signings and the promoters. And I think I actually challenged her to, like, find one promoter that wouldn't want me to share the information as well. And she obviously didn't and couldn't. And then out of spite, I sort of poached. I think I remember I, like, messaged, like, all the people that would send reports into Wrestling Figs. And I was like, send only to us. I don't even know what the hell I promised them. I don't think I could have promised them anything. But the vast majority went over to Marked Out. And she had, like, no reports. Her list was still there. But, I mean, I poached everything I could from her list. And we did it better. It was just a very annoying process that I wished we never did. And then, she died. And it's of my belief, sort of tongue in cheek, but not really, that us crushing her, like, role in life basically aided in her death.
Yeah, there was this thing It's still a little bit prevalent today, but there were, especially in the wrestling community, especially in the online wrestling community, there were the guy who was the photographer at all of the cons, the guy that, Georgianne was, the promoter for a lot of these things, where these people, because they kind of made friends with people in these circles back when the circle was very small, they seem to have an outsized view of their own importance in the context of this world. And so once the world got a lot bigger, once the circle widened up and they just kind of instantly became tiny, irrelevant fish in this ever expanding body of water, it hurt them. So there were a few of them who it was Georgianne, it was Bob Mulrennan. They were all kind of in that same ilk, right?
Well, Bob Mulrennan, that's the funny thing. After Georgianne died, at this point, I don't want to say friendly, but I mean, I guess in terms of how this world is, I would talk sort of regularly with John, who owned Wrestling Figs and Ringside Collectibles. And I remember John reached out to me, and this was like Marked Out was rolling at this point. And he offered me a salaried position, which I never even asked him what the salary was. I mean, what could it have been? To sort of replace, I would have been the new Georgianne. And he wanted me to close down Marked Out, and I would have just done everything like that for Wrestling Figs. And I remember you and I sort of cooked up a counter proposal that we would have. It was some whole thing where we were.
I remember I made the proposal, so I remember exactly what it was. The proposal was that we would fold the Marked Out board, and we would fold the Wrestling Figs board into the Marked Out board, and we would run it. And they would be linked on Wrestling Figs. So the Wrestling Figs would, because their whole thing was their board was a nightmare. It was a nightmare to moderate. It was out of control, and they didn't have any reports anymore. So the agreement, well, the proposal was we would basically merge the boards, and the boards would fall under our management. Do you remember what their reaction was?
Hell no.
Yeah, it was hell no. Of course, what happened to their boards? Their boards died.
They had a free pro boards. They weren't even seeing any ad revenue at all. So it wasn't like they were losing anything. And I always said that was a mistake. They should have put this on their own. Like back when we were actually doing well with the board because of technology being still in that direction, they would have done better than us. At their peak, they were doing crazy business, and they never monetized the traffic.
They didn't know how to run it. It was run very poorly. That was the problem. They basically had teenagers moderating for free. It was just general chaos. It wasn't done right. No, they had a chance to. We had the monetization structure in place, and they said no. So screw them.
Yeah, and then Bob Mulrennan had a run, and he did that for many years. And I bullied him on Marked Out. I had the smiley of him with his stained T-shirt, and now Bob Mulrennan's dead as well. But I take no responsibility for that one, only Georgie.
But those guys, those people, whether it's Georgie or Bob, they hated us. Us.
Yeah, Bob. That's why I bullied Bob, because it was such he would stare death rays through us at the shows. So I would then make fun of him because it was funny.
But I don't know. That's it's funny because I almost forgot about all of that because it was so weird because these people, this was their whole world, and it must be really strange. Your whole world just starts changing so quickly in front of your face that you don't know how to respond to it.
Well, I mean, Marked Out's never been our whole world, but we had the board dying in front of us after COVID, during COVID, and what we did, and again, I called it a lemonade stand before because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But we evolved. We started a podcast. We created a Facebook group. That's what you should be doing. You should be evolving and growing and changing with the times to sort of keep riding the wave. You're either surfing or you're being just creamed by the wave. Those are your options. You got to try to surf as long as you can.
So that's that. Let's see. Other news. Danny Glover announced that he has Alzheimer's. So once again, he went on what seemed like a never-ending con run that I imagine will be reaching its conclusion pretty soon.
Yeah, I guess he'll make these towns that he's got scheduled. But if you didn't get that Lethal Weapon group up, I think Greg 2600 might be going to Texas, and that was one of the things he said he needed, the Lethal Weapon group up. Assuming Danny's down in Texas, I mean, you got to do it. I don't think we're going to probably get that new Lethal Weapon movie, which I'm a little sad about as a fan, but I mean, honestly, these guys in their 70s, I don't imagine it was going to be amazing anyway. But definitely a reminder, you can't wait to meet these people like I did. Robert Patrick could have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's 2 years ago, God forbid, and I would have never gotten him, perhaps. You got to get what you need when you need it.
It's a lesson. It's a lesson we all need to remind ourselves of, honestly. So then this is the funny one. So in the world of soccer, obviously the World Cup is happening. Ronaldo and Roberto Carlos are doing a signing in New York City, July 17th. What makes it interesting is the pricing. So they have, for a combo with each is $1,000 total. That's like the baseline price. Then you can do a thing where you get a jersey for one of the teams, was like $100 more. I guess you can have them sign, or then you can get a line skip for another $100 in there as well. And then there's like a VIP option for $3,000 that includes a pro photo. You can get like inscriptions. I guess inscriptions are pretty valuable because they're way up in price. You get a line jump and you get an extra signed jersey. So, I mean, look, we are now entering into 4-figure autograph signings being the norm. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a clue who these. I mean, granted, I'm not the market here. How do you think this will do?
I don't know him. There's a Ronaldo I know, and this is not Cristiano.
Right.
I don't know. Thank God I don't need them or know them or want them, because I mean, as we've seen, as my Fanatics Fest list shows, I make bad decisions that end up in 4-figure bills. But I don't know. I really don't. I don't know if this, with the World Cup going on, or people from are there like high rollers from around the world that are going to come? I'm not sure. I really don't. It could be a Brunson type of thing where they care enough to do it. I'm not the demographic, so I really can't say more than that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this is very much a we'll see kind of endeavor. I don't know. I don't know what this. I might come a complete ignoramus on this. I have no idea if this will do well or not. I kind of made a joke that I think they're being ambitious, basically selling a line jump for $100. How big could the line be with these guys? But
you got to at least work the line jump. And we did like the Vanity Project package with the line jump, but like the line jump was like not really part of the math. It was about the extra autographs and stuff. And people that bought those, they wanted the extra autographs, and it was a good deal for them. I mean, they weren't always jumping a huge line, but I don't think they bought it for the line jump. If you're selling a line jump in and of itself, when there's not a big line, that's definitely ambitious.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see how it does. It's in a week and a half. So there you go. All right. Let's run down the convention ads.
All right, so to start with, Kristen Kruk is doing a tour with her graphic novel or whatever. A lot of the dates are things that you would already know, like creation shows, New York Comic Con, whatever. But what's interesting is she is doing during the weekend, I think, of New York Comic Con. She will be at Midtown Comics. So if you want to meet her without going to New York Comic Con, there's your chance. She will be in town doing that. Fanatics Fest has added a couple of soccer players. I think one guy's name is Kaka, Kaka. No idea. He sold out. He came back in stock, and I think he might still be available. But he's not $1,000. He's like $300. That's a little bit more reasonable. They added Mike Brown, the coach, El Capitan himself, and I of course got it. I tried to get Greg 2600 to split it with me. He refused. He scoffed at the price. He's like, he should be half that. He's a coach, which he's not wrong about. But I mean, am I going to go up to the bagel place he eats at in Scarsdale and wait for him? At the end of the day, I'm going to pay the price because, what are my options? And they also announced the Fanatics Fest schedule. So what I did was I put my schedule together. And let me tell you, when you have as many ops as I have, that's a process. Let me also tell you, I have several triple or quadruple conflicts with people that aren't super, it's going to be basketball players that aren't the most, they're not all going to have lines around the building. So I'm going to have to make friends with some of these staffers and be like, listen, I got 4 ops. What are we doing? And I would hope I'll make most of them happen, but it's a lot of conflicts. And Thursday, I was planning on taking off of work, but I only had 3 ops, and 2 were like whatever. It was a Trick Williams upgrade for the Lemon Pepper Steppers, and it was Tyrese Halliburton that I wanted, but like I don't need. And then Josh Hart, who I do need, is 530. So I ended up trading in my 2 earlier ones that were less important. I'm doing Josh Hart only, and I have pivoted, and now I don't have to take off Thursday. For everyone at home that was very nervous about my work schedule, I get to work an extra day. I only have to be out Friday, which is, preferable, I suppose. And I have now pivoted to getting Joe Montana, which I feel is a very good offering to the combo gods.
I agree. There have been times in the past few Fanatics Fests when I wanted to get Montana, but the stars just didn't align. We haven't even talked about the fact that maybe we did last week. I don't remember that. Like with the recent cancellations from Fanatics, my decision not to buy tickets was the right one for me.
As an ardent anti-sports fan that hates the fandom more than the sports itself, which I understand, it's not your type of event. Like this WWE needs that, most of which were spread out and not very plentiful. Sunday you can't do, and for Oba, and all the sports people I'm getting you wouldn't want. I don't even know if I'd be going if I just had WWE once. I would go in on Sunday for Femi, I guess probably for Breaker. But like other than that, it's not, if you're not getting these people over and over again, the WWE list gets a little bit redundant, show to show to show.
Yeah. Rhode Island Comic Con. They added Arden Cho. Rhode Island is in kind of deep dookie over here. I'm not gonna lie.
Like I said, they're pressing hard on their promotional materials. I think they're really leaning on Alexander and Dumel. I think to them, their lineup is a lot more established than we're giving them credit for. And either we are just in the minority and they're both going to be wrapped around the building, those two, or they are in denial and they think they got bigger names than they have. I don't know. We will see. If it stays weak like this, I mean, Don Bluth, Michael Douglas, probably spend the same, but it'll be, quality over quantity. I'll survive.
For sure. What else? Steel City Con added Naya Vardalos from my Big Fat Greek Wedding, which I think she'll do all right. She'll do pretty good. There's definitely a cult following for that movie. And Bradley Whitford, I'm not sure if he's done any cons before, but he's a pretty good name, I think. I'm actually he's one of those people I probably would have gotten had we gone to Steel City.
Bradley Whitford's cool, definitely cool name. Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I liked Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, which was on NBC for like a hot minute. So honestly, any of those like Studio 60 people, I kind of pop for. I would have gotten him for sure. I don't want to go to Steel, so I don't want to go to Pittsburgh for him. There's more people now, though. You have a handful of people where it's like, okay, but still, that's a trip. I'm coming back from vacation. I think me thinking I was going to fly in the day before and then be up 6 hours later to drive to Pittsburgh, I think that was always a pipe dream. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. That weekend I'm just shutting off unless something big happens, like, monumental, and it is what it is.
Great. You talk about the next.
All right, the big event New York, in conjunction with the Woodbridge Brewing Company, is doing a New York Knicks celebration. Gerald Wilkins, John Wallace, Larry Johnson, Charles Oakley. Sadly, I can't tear this to shreds because I like Tom too much, but the Woodbridge Brewing Company is a fun punching bag for me. But if you're in New Jersey and you want to meet these guys, the pricing actually ain't half bad for a lot of these guys. You're talking like $40, $50 combos, which, even though they do forced combos at Woodbridge, that's a reasonable number. I think it's going to be interesting to see how these guys that really had nothing to do with the championship, how they do. Can you march out these, is Patrick Ewing going to see a bump at Fanatics Fest because the Knicks in 2026 won the title? I don't know. He got a coaching job now at Washington. So, I mean, his profile has gone up in the NBA. But I don't know if the alumni are going to see a real bump, a lasting bump. I'm not sure. I'm curious to see.
I have no clue. I wouldn't know. But you're not doing that celebration at Woodbridge, right?
No, I have the two that matter. John Wallace and Gerald Wilkins. It's whatever. I would get them at like a local watch party. That's about it. I don't even know if I'd pay for them.
What else we got? TriStar at the National Sports Collectors Convention added Chuck D and Flava Flav. And this is not really for us, but it certainly bodes well for them doing other things in the future.
Yeah, I'm all for a Public Enemy run. Just I'm not going to Chicago for it. Terrific Con adds Ming Chen from the comic book. The hell they call whatever that show is with Kevin Smith. That dude's all over the place. No surprise. And then Scaradise in Tampa. They have this is a little bit of a throwback. They have a Norman Reedus, Sean Patrick Flannery, Boondock Saints reunion. We haven't seen those dudes on the East Coast doing something like this in quite a while.
Yeah. I wonder. I do think that there is diminishing returns for Boondock in general, but I think the reality is I'm not sure Norman can just tether everything to Walking Dead either, since that property has just obviously dramatically cooled off. I mean, he's sort of royalty in that world, but still, you got to keep doing what works.
Yeah, and let's be also to be accurate, that show also has Lauren Cohen and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So Reedus can also slot in for Walking Dead ops, which is always successful. I'm sure Reedus and Morgan group ops will be a big seller. And they are also working on an It reboot, children reunion who aren't children anymore. Jack Dylan Grazer, Sophia Lilas, a bunch of other ones. And then Natalie Grace added as well, who's in a new horror movie coming out. That show is really, really solid. That show always, even if it's people I don't need, whenever I see an announcement from there, I'm like, okay, Scaradise is definitely on my radar. Not this show, just as a brand, because they add good people.
Definitely. And finally, Monster Mania has added Amanda Weiss from Nightmare on Elm Street and Warwick Davis from a lot of things. These are good Monster Mania names. How about that?
Did you see the one fan going nuts with the Warwick Davis announcement? And he made some post about if he cancels again, I'm going to be so angry. Like he was basically like enraged from the last cancellation. And the Monster Mania account was like one of the last times he canceled was like because his wife was dying and she died. And like, it's not anything to be that mad about. And he like never responded, but it was just funny to me to see this guy was like, you would think they like burned his house down. He was so angry.
People are nuts, man. We know that firsthand. We've seen plenty of nuttiness.
Yep.
Now that's not to say I don't become enraged when there are cancellations. Make no mistake. I often do get mad, so I shouldn't really talk.
No, but it's still funny to look at.
Absolutely. All right, Wicked Ink Wednesday, another one in the books. There are a few good ones. The Little Rat, he posted his WrestleMania 5 ticket stub.
25.
Did I say 5? Sorry. WrestleMania 25 ticket stubs signed by Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Linder has no problem sending things to a private signing, unlike some of us who are very... Did you freak out when you realized that he sent that in?
You would think he would have more of a problem since he has so many complaints afterwards. You would think he would kind of take a step back and be like, maybe these things aren't as safe as they should be. But I guess he always gets his stuff back, and this was a winner. This came back great. He had no complaints. I'm not quite okay with the realization of him holding this ticket for 17 years. WrestleMania 25 was 17 years ago. Holy crap.
You mean like he should have had it done before that, or what's the
no?
It's
maybe it's just me, but like if you tell me what WrestleMania was 17 years ago, in my mind it's like WrestleMania 8. Like I know it's not, but like the idea that was 17 years ago, like holy cow.
Yeah, I mean I don't know why he's sending it to PSA for encapsulation. I'm not sure.
That's what people do with the tickets. That's why? Like the thing. I'm not sure. Same as cards. It protects them, I guess. It increases value. I don't know.
I would find a way to frame it nice. I don't know. I don't know.
No, you frame. I think people will frame the encapsulation.
No, I totally get it. But those capsules are ugly, man. Because there's like a bag inside of it, like a plastic inside of it, and then there's the outer plastic. I don't love it. I don't love the encapsulation.
I think if you're a ticket/card person, I think you have a different viewpoint on it. That's the standard.
I guess. I don't know. That seems like it would be such a cool thing to have out in the open. So to kind of seal it up in that ugly plastic is a choice. I don't know. I'm surprised he was able to get it done because I thought when the Undertaker was with Fitterman, they wouldn't let him sign the tickets, right? But I thought Fanatics usually doesn't either. I wonder what happened.
But I think Fanatics they had a price. They had a price. I think for Fitterman. Fitterman's probably one of the most extreme when it comes to like really safeguarding those tickets. Like I was like in the back room with Golden Ring. He had a bunch of like ticket stubs, and like we thought he'd make a deal in the 11th hour, like, and no, the price was the price, and he wanted like insane money for these stubs, and he took them back unsigned because it's like it was ridiculous. I mean, it is what it is. I'm they must have a treasure trove of tickets that when he dies, they're going to drop, and they think that they control some market. Maybe there is a value out there and a client base that are going to snatch these up for thousands of dollars. I don't know, but they're not letting the market get flooded.
Did you look? Did Linder have good seats for Mania 25?
I didn't. Let me judge. Let's see where the Little Rat was sitting.
And what did he pay for that ticket?
Little Rat was sitting section 108.
Not bad. And
it's comped. $0. That might be the comp ticket. Look at you, Little Rat. You're flexing there.
Yeah, getting a comp ticket signed. That's balls. That's funny.
This might be during the Little Rat's run in the company. I don't know, and I'm not even joking. But I don't remember the years he was there.
Very interesting.
Actually, I don't think he's old enough to have been there 17 years ago. Sorry, Little Rat. Yeah. Little Rat's 70 years old.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I want to hear the story about. Jack Proctor, he posted his autograph from Muhammad Ali, who signed an Everlast boxing glove, and he signed it with an absolutely extraordinary inscription: "After me, there will never be another." I mean, that is like to get Ali. Ali signed a lot. Don't get me wrong. In his day, he signed a lot. To get a great looking Ali on a glove with a giant inscription, fantastic, phenomenal.
Yeah, showpiece. And then last but not least, Brett Pasternak had to celebrate the 4th of July the only way those of us in this hobby know how, and that is by finding the most patriotic 30-something-year-old WWF magazine, and he picked the cover from April 91 featuring Hulk Hogan. I have the same one signed. His is nicer than mine because mine, the signature like goes over the mailing label. But I bought it after he died from Rockin' with Dan. I had many options there. But it's to me, it's one of the iconic covers of the early 90s, and I'll pop for that every time I see it.
Awesome. We also had Photo with Friday this week. Dave posted a shot with Zendaya from 2019. I was at that appearance as well. You were not, right?
I don't know why. I don't remember. Either. Ira told me, this is crazy that Ira remembers more about my life than I remember about my own.
I do know. You had to go buy the perfume the day before, I think is what it was.
Yeah, but I've done that before. At the time, I think I thought she started as a singer, right? Wasn't that like her thing?
Yes.
I was getting to a point. I mean, 2019,
she was already getting big, though. I
was 32, so I'm like, I don't care. She's like 18 years old. She's a stupid singer. I don't listen to female artists like that. That's like a whole thing I'll get into one day. How I can't relate to like the female perspective in these songs. I like love songs from, I don't know. There's not many female artists I like. It doesn't hit my ear right. Very weird. But little did I know she would be on top of the pile. She's probably, as far as actresses of this upcoming and current generation, she's the A-list of the A-list. And I goofed in a really big way. And I'm
catastrophically, really.
Yeah. I'll never recover from it. As far as, emotionally, sure, I'll recover from it. But like in terms of making up for this, I'll never get a photo like that with her.
Robert posted an extraordinary shot with Paul Simon. Paul Simon, if you're in the street game, he's nearly impossible.
Yeah, he called it one of the toughest photos he's ever gotten. He had a tour poster and was wearing the shirt. He had the tour shirt. He declined to sign the poster, but he pivoted quickly. And he did he asked for a selfie, and Paul Simon said, make it quick. And Robert says the photo isn't great, but the story makes it one of his favorite hobby memories. And I would counter that the photo looks pretty damn good to me. It's a selfie at night on the street. It's clear. You can see it's him. It's about as good as it gets.
And then Ron posted a shot with Jack Tunney What a great character Jack Tunney was. He's the worst bureaucrat in the history of bureaucrats. It's really funny. But he got him at the WrestleMania 11 Fan Fest way back in '95. So it's funny, you thinking Mania 25 was a long time ago. Now we're talking about Mania 11. Forget it.
Listen, that's still current to me. WrestleMania 11's like 5 years ago in my mind. But yeah, Tunney had no line. He was able to get both a photo and an autograph, and Tunney was incredibly friendly and surprised that someone wanted a picture with him. Wow.
So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Autograph collecting community on Facebook. All links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. If you want your event, product, or brand advertised on episodes of Marked Out Radio, reach out to us today at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. Make sure to get your Marked Out Radio merch on our ProWrestlingTees.com shop. Please see the link below or check out the pinned post on Facebook. If you like what you're hearing, or you hate it, or something in between, please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and or review. You can leave a rating, a review, or a comment on one or all of these platforms. So before we get to the main topic, I was actually scrolling through Facebook before. Do you know that today is the 15th anniversary of the day we did the white collar set?
Christ almighty. Is this
July 5th, 2011?
Well, let's be fair. Let's be fair. We did it one time when we got most of the key people, including Matt Bomer. We did it a second time when we chased Tiffany Amber Thiessen down 125th in Harlem and cut her off. I remember we ran diagonally across the street to
we got the ops, baby.
We got her. And then there was the final time when we went for the late great Willie Garson, and you wanted to kill yourself and Eddie Yu while sitting outside the trailer. So I'm assuming you mean the time with suited Bowman. Bomer. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Christ. I'm not okay
July 5th, 2011, 15 years ago today, we did that.
A mere 2 years after WrestleMania 25. See, that right there, my consciousness has not really moved much from that day. I think, honestly, my frame of time and space is sort of entrenched in that day at the white collar set. Like,
do you know how hot it was?
Yeah. Shawn and Taker were 2 years ago. The white collar set a couple of years ago, maybe months. Like not that many years. I'm not okay with this. But what do you?
Yeah,
listen.
I remember those. We had tremendous successes, though. That was extraordinary. We got blanked by Diane Carroll. That was the only only miss there.
And I wonder if we may have tapped out too quick on Diane Carroll, because she did tell us she would do it when she left the trailer, and then we left. Because
it was like, I remember I was melting. It was so hot. It was so hot that it was like really a problem. But didn't we leave because didn't we go for like Boardwalk Empire? Wasn't it the same time, or?
Yeah, we had to leave. I wanted to catch that before it wrapped. Yeah.
So there was something. Yeah, there was a reason why we left. It wasn't just to leave. But that was
Michael
15 years ago, man.
Time marches on.
Crazy. So
pile up.
Well, it's just funny because here we are 15 years later, and we got to talk about the Snoop Dogg meet and greet that we did, because the whole story from beginning to end is really kind of wild, and it, by all accounts, shouldn't have happened, and only through just a strange series of events did it happen.
Yeah, board member, listener Nikki, she posted this like little tour he's doing, Snoop Dogg. He started the tour on July 3rd in Long Island City. He followed it up the following night, July 4th, in Montauk, New York. And then he finishes the weekend out July 5th in Montreal, Quebec. These were clubs. It's called Beach Club. And there's a location, I believe it's also a beach club in Montauk. I think that's the overarching theme here.
The Summer Club, is it called Summer Club?
Summer Club, not the Beach Club. Summer Club. The Summer Club brought him in to sort of promote the overall brand, and I completely botched it. So take that, Summer Club. Yeah. So it was on. Nikki posted it,
and but she posted it not to advertise. She posted it because she thought the price was really high.
Yeah. And
it was
I forget how did you and I start discussing it? Did I send it to you? Did you send it to me? Like, how did our dialogue
I
transpire?
think it came from her posting it, and I saw her post it. And I'm like, "Did you see this is even a thing?" And you said no, and then we went and looked it up. And well, because all right. So to be fair, the original context was it was a $5,000 meet and greet to smoke weed with I was gonna say Tupac. That's not with Tupac. To smoke weed with Snoop, and there was a lesser included meet and greet, substantially lesser, to not smoke weed with him, to just get the photo. And so that was the initial, like, oh, isn't this funny? Because initially when I clicked the link, I didn't even see the lesser meet and greet. I really just thought it was the weed smoking one.
Yeah. I would have paid $5,000 for the Tupac one you just mentioned. Not to smoke weed, but to get Tupac. But yeah, it was like something, I think, with the fees.
You're supposed to
Definitely
kayfabe these things, Dana. What are you doing?
No, I kayfabe on my personal. If someone comments a price on my personal account, I'll delete it. But on the group, which is public, go figure. That's where I'm open about it.
I know lots of people who listen to this. Kayfabe the numbers. I should bleep them. I should go through and bleep them. Maybe I'll bleep it. I'm gonna bleep it. What's the timestamp? An hour 34.
Wow.
I'm bleeping this. Should I bleep it? Or are you mad?
Now, I don't care, but now you've kayfabed the timestamps, and now people are going to see how many pauses got deleted, because they're going to see what time it actually hits. You're ruining everything now. The Wizard of Oz. It's like it's the closing scene right now. It's all coming down. So. But yeah, I was willing to pay double this for Ice Cube last year. I did pay double this for Ice Cube last year, and it was canceled. So wasn't a question. I had to do it. He was a similar price, so you don't have to bleep it, at Jones Beach, probably 2018, 2019. At that time, I guess I was a little bit more dignified, maybe a little broker, maybe a little saner. I don't know which one. Didn't do it. And I've lamented ever since. And I wasn't going to miss this. My surprise was that you were interested in doing it. I thought you'd be interested maybe in theory. I didn't think you would actually like pull the trigger.
It was one of those things, I'm not a huge fan of like rappers and rap and stuff like that, but I do pretty much, as you know, I'm pretty consistent that if someone is like a cultural icon or someone is has important cultural resonance, I'll just get them as part of my overall collection. Now, does this make sense to the average person? No, it does not. But I'm consistent. And of course, someone might say, well, what counts as far as, cultural importance? And it's very much I know it when I see it. It's the Supreme Court definition of pornography, right? I know it when I see it, and I can't explain it, I can't articulate it, But look, it's funny because Kevin Costner at Fanatics was cheaper, and to me, it was an easy pass. So you explain that one for me.
Well, I don't want to speak for you, but you always seem to have some esteem and love for the Chronic, for Chronic 2001. I guess Doggy Style. I've never talked to you about that. You seem to be a fan of Dr. Dre and like the people sort of orbiting Dr. Dre, like Eminem.
Yeah. That's very. I think that's very fair, very true, especially in that time period. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're a fan of that like West Coast G-Funk like Dre sound, I mean, Snoop and Dre, it's like Cheech and Chong. It's like whatever, like that. That's who you kind of needed them. So I don't think this is really like a JoJo Siwa, like you just getting someone that was culturally important to you, and that I know it when I see it. I think this was a little more fan focused on, at least from conversations we've had.
That's fair.
But anyway, so what was it like? So it was at a pool party.
So first of all, we don't skip ahead because we have to go to the communication. So whenever we buy a meet and greet, this has been a running pattern. We're concerned that when are they going to communicate the details of this meet and greet? So when we bought it, we had to buy the entry to the club on this app called Dice, but the meet and greet was sold on Eventbrite. Okay, whatever. The meet and greet in Eventbrite was listed as 10 p.m. But we both knew that probably was not going to be accurate because that was it almost seemed like a placeholder time. So we get emails. What time were the emails they came in? About 2 p.m. or 1 p.m., something like that, right?
Around 1 p.m., yes.
So around 1 p.m. yesterday, we get emails roll in. We both get different emails. My email says the meet and greet is pre-show. Check-in is at 7:30. Your email says the meet and greet is Post-show, the check-in is at 7. Now, obviously, these two things cannot coexist because they contradict each other. So I'm like, great. So these people have no communication skills whatsoever. As it turns out, we had both received both emails. It's just different ones went to spam. So incidentally, the correct one went to your spam. The incorrect one went to my spam.
No, the funny thing is neither one went to my spam. I just only opened the one. I just didn't see the other one. They were both in my regular inbox.
Didn't they come back to back?
I get a lot of emails. I saw the one. I didn't look for more. I saw an email. I opened it.
Oh, mine actually went to spam, the bad one. So in any case, we figured out that it was probably going to be a 7:30 check-in. So because you are you, now I need you to explain your logic here because I wanted to roll up at about 7, but you were like bugging out all day.
Well, yeah, I was bugging out all day because you don't truly know what these things are going to do. I've never dealt with this company before. So my feeling was I definitely didn't count on, even though the 7:30 one was the most recent email, I wasn't, when someone sends me 2 emails and they don't actually like strike down the one email by clearly stating disregard the other email, I'm going to then worry that the first email may be the accurate email. And I am also going to then worry that when we're
But you realize that that's totally irrational. It makes no sense, right?
I mean, does everything in this hobby make sense?
No, but they would, if they did that, they'd have to give money back. There's no way that would happen. By the way, did you see we got emails like 5:00 yesterday? He sent them to us.
No.
Yeah. He sent what? Like, hey guys, check in or whatever. I guess because we were the last ones to check in. Anyway, so you were bugging out. We'll get to it in a minute. You were bugging out and you wanted to get there at 6. Look, at the end of the day, getting there at 6 or 7, it doesn't really matter. At that point, we're in for a penny, in for a pound, right? So we get there. Luckily, we find free parking, but it doesn't mean that we have to walk about a mile to the venue, which actually I was a little bit concerned because it was hot, but it wasn't too bad, the walk.
Yeah, this was my decision. I was pushing for this because the venue, Long Island City, is an interesting area. The vast majority of it is good. Very expensive apartments. It's waterfront property with a view of the skyline. Like, you're close to the water. It's very nice. But when you walk far enough north, you get up to like Queens, you get up to like the Ed Koch Bridge. And on the opposite side of that bridge are the Queensbridge housing projects. Like, you see them. Like, this venue, you can see the Queensbridge houses from the block. Like, you're right there. And I said to you, like, you don't want to roll up north of the bridge and start trying to find street parking. Like, I've left my car near projects before with minimal problem, no problem. But I mean, it's just, you're playing with fire. You don't want to really park the car right in front of the projects if you can avoid it. So I said our safe play for the car would be you park it down, down towards the subway station down there by the park, and then you just walk it up. And that's what we did. We really could have parked much closer. It was fine. Apparently that side of the bridge, even up to the bridge, is fine. But we walked about a mile, which, took some time. So getting there at 6 wasn't a terrible idea. We really walked up to the club around 6:30, 6:40. And, we checked in and we got upstairs. And it was a merch table with people at the merch table. Nice.
I do this. I missed the button. I was hovering over and I missed it.
I'm pretty sure you sneezed all over the button, but you definitely didn't press it.
Yeah.
You started asking a girl who we later would find out was, I think all those girls just worked for the club. So she was like clueless to what you were even talking about. And then you ended up talking to the guy who was the point man basically for this whole thing.
Yeah. So we met him, and his method of record keeping was having all of the names of the people who paid for the meet and greet in his notes app. On one level, I'm like, okay, I guess that's a form of organization, but that's not something that I would have done.
I would have.
You would have, right? And that's, anyway.
He was my kind of guy.
So, of course, he's like, oh, you guys are the last ones to check in, which made me laugh. I was there an hour more earlier than I wanted to be. And he goes, oh, yeah, by the way, Snoop's running late. So we wanted to, we're probably going to do the meet and greet after the show. Now, at this point, I am crestfallen because after the show can be God knows what time. I don't even know, how long it was going to take. We knew Snoop was in the Hamptons the day before. if depending on what time you left the Hamptons, it could take 3 or 4 hours to get to Long Island City with the 4th of July traffic that whole weekend. It was beautiful, tons of beach traffic. Anyway, so the guy took our phone numbers and he said that he would text us updates. So we're standing there just frying in the heat. I mean, sweat is dripping down my back. I would say by 7 or 7:15, I am questioning my life choices.
A little bit. You made the suggestion that we should be scoping out these wicker chairs, and at this point they were filled up with people sitting in them. Everyone's sitting around smoking and drinking and whatever in these it's like seating area. Finally, people get up. We run over. You asked the woman if the seats around her were taken, and what was your response? You texted it to me. I think your delivery will be funnier than I would have. Not
as if she looked at me with absolute contempt. She looked at me the way Marissa Tomei looked at me at that spot a couple of years ago, just with like I was a piece of like a turd that was sitting there in front of her.
What you said that made me pop was that you said in the text at that moment that the way she looked at you, it was as if you like just took a shit right there in front of her on the floor.
That's something I would say, yeah. Okay.
And like I said, I suspect she thought that you were hitting her with the whole, "Oh, is this seat taken?" to then sit next to her and hit on her. And what she received was you and me discussing WWE LJN repaints and if I should upgrade my Lost Boys cast piece to a larger size. And I think she actually would have preferred to be hit on than have to hear us shouting across her this conversation.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, honestly.
So we sat there for a number of hours, and I guess we people watched a bit, and we probably got contact highs from sitting in that. I think we almost would have had to. And then the weather apps started blowing up, and there were severe thunderstorm watches, and then there was a warning. And of course, we're on the roof. We are on the roof of this building, and the wind was whipping. The sky's getting darker. And we, of course, start worrying because we didn't know where the meet and greet was going to be. They pointed to like a VIP section by the DJ booth, which was not very covered. Also, is there going to be a party going on if there's lightning and thunder and we're like 8 stories up, in the air? Like, I don't know. So we were kind of getting worried. You were almost doubting it was going to happen at all at this point.
I mean, there was a significant amount of lightning. Those venues are supposed to close. They're required to close during lightning storms. They just didn't. So, I mean, I imagine if the fire marshal came by, that would have been it. But they didn't. And so they let it rock. And so we did.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, earlier than I expected, around 9:00, I was like, we were booking our Chicago hotel. We were doing all sorts of things. I was checking my fantasy app. And you heard a familiar voice over the speakers. I'd been tuning out the DJ as best I could because who the hell needs to hear him? And you're like, that's Snoop. And I initially said,
no, it's not. No, you're arguing with me.
Yeah. Then I heard him again. I'm like, that might be Snoop. So we left our chairs. At this point, most of the chairs around us were empty because Snoop Dogg was there. And we were the idiots still sitting in the empty section. And we went over. And honestly, we fought through the crowd in the worst possible way. Once we did it multiple times, I'm like, yeah, that was not the way to do it. We like cut through the heart of the crowd and then looped over, and there was an easier way to do it. And the direction was to be in the VIP section by 10 p.m. So like 9:20, we walked into the VIP section, which was sort of unguarded at that point, and we were standing by where they told us to be. And at this point, then the bouncer somehow noticed that we didn't have the right color bracelet on to be in the VIP section. And we explained how we had a meet and greet, and he said, well, tell them to give you the proper bracelet. I can't let you stay. He wasn't really a jerk about it. Honestly, in bouncer language, he was probably one of the nicer ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went over and we found the guy easily from the company. And he's like, yeah, well, it's not 10:00 yet. You're good. I'll get you in when the time comes. And we were paranoid, honestly, more than they deserved. Because, I mean, we went in and we found them. He gave us his personal cell number. He texted us the update when he said he would. Communication was more or less good. But when you're talking, bleeped amount of money on the line, we were not going to just go, stand over to the side and dance to Big Papa.
And trust that these guys were going to do their job.
Yeah. So we sort of posted up right by the table and watched them, basically, in a very like Sting and the Police kind of way, and waited for it to be. We were hoping we would walk over with them when we saw them heading in that direction. Of course, as it gets closer to the witching hour, they went out the back, went down these stairs, and I guess we found out later there was a way to get to the VIP section from the street if you were like staff or connected. So they did that. By around 9:50, we're like, well, crap, we got to go. So we walked over to the VIP section. We couldn't get in, obviously, because we still didn't have a bracelet. And then you spotted the guy. He like saw us. I texted him. He waved over to us. And then he came over when it got time for the thing to happen. He told the bouncer at the rope that we were part of the meet and greet. They let us in. He sort of grouped us all together, and there really weren't more than like 7 of us. And we were in line waiting for the performance to end. Now, how did you feel at this point? We had some anxiety leading up to this. We had some anxiety while it was going on. But once we got on the other side of the rope and we were able to just stand there and watch his performance from the meet and greet line, how would you feel?
Much better. Once I was kind of brought into the inside area, I felt much better. I think the issue was, number one, the anxiety was whether he was going to even show up. It didn't look like it for a while. And then once that happened, then it was like one of the issues was when we went by the merch stand, and all of a sudden all of the other VIP related people just vanished. And so I was like, what the heck, man? Like, I feel like a lot of this would have been avoided if they had given us the right bracelet to begin with, but it just wasn't that organized. There is an alternate universe where there's even a slightly more disorganized thing. And it turned out being pretty darn organized, because then once we were in that VIP area, pretty much 10 on the nose, they had us line up down the stairs outside this little door that led to a side office. We waited outside for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. There was a woman who gave very clear, very direct, easy to understand instructions. I thought for this kind of, usually these kind of events, the people they have running them are morons. She was pretty good. Snoop hung out in his green room for a little while alone. And then this is a really funny thing, a very weird thing. The dance, because he had the dancers on stage during his set. It was like, it was like local talent who they had dancing up there. And he had them all brought into his back room where they got to take pictures with him, and they giggle with him while he said things to them. And I know that those girls are supposed to be tipped out when they don't get paid much at events like this, when at their typical job on a Friday night where they work as local talent, they'd be tipped out much more. So this is the kind of situation where they should be tipped out by the talent. Do you want to tell what he gave them as a tip?
Bags of potato chips.
He did. Yeah.
I initially thought it was like bags of weed, and once they got closer with them, I'm like, oh, those are like Snoop Dogg Doritos.
That's what they were, barbecue chips. And I was like, damn. So that's a little bit tacky. I mean, maybe he gave them money before he gave them the chips. I don't know, but it was pretty tacky.
You heard Snoop on the PIMP remix. I mean, he practices what he preaches.
So, anyway, I would say that the meet and greet itself didn't begin until about 11, because then they left and he was in the room by himself. And like, it's such a funny thing because they were like all of the workers got all anxious. We got to make this move. We got to make this move. We got to make this move. And like, there were 7 people. The meet and greet was going to take a grand total of like not even 10 minutes. And they were acting like it was some long line. And so Snoop comes out. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, let's be clear. A lot of this was like the workers at the venue, the staff from this company. You had the guy with the sleeves and the woman. They were husband and wife. And I believe that guy is the owner of the company.
Yes.
You had the guy, our liaison guy. I'm not sure what his role is in the company, but he was also chill. The actual
security was chill.
Yeah. They were all, I mean, you can see that there was that one Spanish dude with the Chucks. I mean, like when I see security, I'm like, which one would I want to fight the least? That's the dude I'd fight the least. That dude.
He was actually friendly, though.
He was, but he'd crush your skull with his hand.
No, I understand, but usually, sometimes their personal security is anxious. Snoop's was not. They were very friendly. They really were.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, go on. So Snoop comes out.
So there's one person. I was second in line. There was one person ahead of me in line. We the best part about it was this dude in a Bulls jersey. We spotted him as a grapher, as someone at a meet and greet 5 hours earlier. We knew exactly who we went. He didn't fit in at all in this place. We knew exactly he was there for the meet and greet.
And what's even funnier is I spotted a second grapher who I've seen at a bunch of the hip hop signings, and he had like a big like Target like tote bag filled with crap. He didn't have a meet and greet. So I don't know what the hell he was planning. He must have thought he could just sort of get him coming off the stage, which wasn't going to happen because he was gone. He left and got nothing. So I don't know what the hell that grapher was doing. But back to the story.
So the guy goes up and he gets it. He's talking to Snoop and saying all these things, whatever. He gets about 17 different poses, which was the norm for Snoop. And then the guy was wearing like baggy cargo shorts, because of course he was. He's a grapher, and he whips out like an old Snoop VHS from his pocket. Which did you see it concealed?
No,
I didn't either. That's how big the pockets were. And he whips out this VHS and he whips out a fat deco, and he goes, "Can you sign it?" And of course Snoop goes to sign, but the deco is dead. And so the guy he's using his arm to try and get bring the deco back to life. At this point, security's like, "All right, this is the only one." They were laughing about it, but he's the only one getting an autograph. Sorry, no other autographs. If we pushed, we probably. I mean, granted, I would not. What am I gonna do? Stick a vinyl up my ass? We didn't have like that, but he did sign the thing, and Snoop was very gracious about it, and that was that. And so I went up next. I got about 5 or 6 or 7 different poses from Snoop. He was very nice. He was actively smoking a J while we were there, while we were taking the pictures.
Which I guess he couldn't do that at a convention. So, I mean, there's yet another reason maybe why, he's able in this setting to sort of run it his own way and live his own way. I had a similarly good experience. It was a rare setup where you had own camera, but you had all these sort of amenities of a pro op. You had a backdrop, you had a nice like light that sort of, made everything well. We were kind of envisioning like poorly lit off the side of a stage in the dark with like, all this crap. It was a perfect photo, perfect lighting. And Greg like commented about, "Oh, it's like I predicted," as it, like in like a negative way. And like, I truly, truly think it was a very well run event. A thing like this is never going to be like bookends that you can run in and run out in 40 minutes. Like, it's not. You're going to have to put in time. The check-in is not going to be right at the time it starts. That's what it is. But as far as what the company did, I mean, I followed this company now on all the platforms, and I will most certainly frequent them again if they have like they have Nelly on their like roster. I would go to a show for a Nelly meet and greet. They have T.I. the same weekend as Fanatics Fest down in Brooklyn doing a meet and greet that I would love to do. But it's Friday night. Friday is going to be like a 9-hour day at Fanatics. I'm there Thursday. I'm there Saturday. I'm there Sunday to go to a full concert, meet and greet after, come home, wake up, go to Fanatics on Saturday. I'm doing too much. I really shouldn't do this. I'm going to try to resist, but that's how good of an experience it was where I'm like, yeah, I probably should try to make this happen.
You're going to do T.I. then?
I don't think so, because it's a pain in the ass. You got to go to Brooklyn at night, and you got to be up the next. If my Fanatics week ended on Friday and I would do this and go home, sure. But I'm gonna be exhausted on Saturday. Like, I don't think so, but it's always a possibility. Plus, if it ends up being pre-show, I'm rushing. I have a 5:30 op at Fanatics, so I have to get my ass down to Fulton in time. It's I'm gambling there. It's probably not worth it. Plus, I'm spend another 5,
I guess. So all in all, we got what we paid for. It wasn't even that late. And when you think about it, we both bought the tickets on Eventbrite, assuming this would happen at 10. It happened at 11. Hard to argue with that, truthfully. We were home. I was in my door at midnight. So
I was in my door at 1.
I was anticipating leaving Long Island City at 1 a.m.
Yeah,
that was my estimate. I'm getting home at 2 a.m. So all in, even though part of it was that it was very hot, and with the weather, it added additional anxiety. But overall, it's hard to argue with what we got, and we got great photos and some great funny content. And honestly, the time it didn't pass that slowly. We were laughing most of the time. It was fine.
Yeah, honestly, it beats like I've had worse experiences standing at a con. David Howard Thornton line at Oaks was a hell of a lot worse than this.
Still one of the most miserable experiences of all time. That was.
Yep.
So all things considered, I thought this was actually great. I know in the moment I was like bugging out and complaining and stuff, but yeah, it was fine. It was good.
And on his way out of the building, that paparazzi we talked about earlier in the show, she was out there apparently. She had video of him leaving, and there were graphers. We saw them all like waiting down there when we were online to go in for the meet and greet, and he blanked. He didn't do a damn thing. He's been easy on the street in the past. I'm sure under the right circumstances he still is. But if you need Snoop and he's coming to your city with this company, I wouldn't hesitate. It's a hefty number, but you get what you pay for, and I haven't seen any photos on the street with Snoop quite as good as ours.
No, our photos are good. They're undeniable. So I have to say a worthy endeavor, despite some of the initial hangups.
Agreed.
All right, so let's get to some questions. So Jim asks, what are your thoughts on the Reed Pop situation with Star Wars Celebration tickets and how the queue was hours long and folks were allowed to buy up to 20 tickets? Then eBay and other places had them up for sale at 4 to 5 times face value. I mean, do you want to? Reed Pop sucks. Look, the problem is they're being tasked with managing tens of thousands of tickets to an event, and they don't really have a platform that can handle that volume of ticketing. And so, they've relied on these insane queue things like they use for New York Comic Con, and they have the other systems, but these systems are deeply flawed. At the end of the day, though, I believe there is a limit to what people will pay for con tickets, and the scalper prices will come down to earth if people don't pay scalper prices. That's really all there is to it.
Yeah, and my belief, my opinion is going to be echoing what I said before. If anything, I'm jealous I didn't go on and buy all. If these tickets are going to sell and for 4 to 5 times the value, shoot, next year I'll do it. I'm all for it.
But just to be clear, that is not a sustainable business model for a con to have all their tickets get flipped by scalpers. That's preposterous, right?
I don't know. Honestly,
for a con, sure. How could they track how can they realistically track their entrance numbers if they have no idea which tickets are going to fans, which tickets are going to scalpers? If for a concert, it doesn't really matter. For a con where you're promising your vendors X number of feet by their tables during the day that may not even happen, that's not sustainable.
I think that's where you start creating these things like Fanatics has, where you have to buy your way into these different on sale windows where you can get things. If you got to pay extra money to have the opportunity to get your stuff first.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying like Star Wars Celebration has vendors, and they have people who run the food. They have people who do all these things that they're expecting X number of potential customers, right? Because that's how many tickets they were promised would be sold. But if these tickets get sold to like scalping banks, and then a lot of them, maybe they go unused or something like that, that it can cause problems with vendors down the line. It's not sustainable for a company to manage their ticketing that way. I mean, I suspect Jim might be, I don't know how many people were able to buy 20 tickets and then scalp them. That just doesn't see it. There's no way that happened on a very large scale. Because if it did, the con would be empty because no one is paying super inflated prices. Even when New York Comic Con was at its peak, I mean, you could argue it's at its peak now. You can go on and buy a Saturday ticket for a couple bucks above face value a couple days before the show every year. It's possible. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we're also assuming that any of these tickets go unused. I would think that these scalpers, if they're not getting their prices, are in large order going to get their price down to move them. They don't want to eat these tickets. So I would think they'd still end up being used, and people would be walking through the doors, and it would be a different story. But like you said, I don't know how often this is really happening. Are there many people really buying 20? I'm on eBay right now. I typed in Star Wars Celebration. I'm not seeing, unless the show just passed. That's a possibility. But I'm not seeing like many photo ops here.
Let me see.
Or any photo ops. I'm seeing like old badges from prior shows. Someone sold a whole badge set for $500. That's pretty crazy.
When is the ticket? When is the show? Oh, it's almost a year away. It's in 2027.
If I'm going through sold listings, I don't even see photo ops being sold here, so I'm not really sure
What about the tickets? Nothing.
I mean, tickets, I suppose. Let me try to sort them with the highest price.
Well,
I don't
just
care about this.
type tickets. No.
But there's old tickets. People will sell tickets from 2016 for $10. I don't care about that. I want to see like big ticket stuff that's being sold, expensive.
Star Wars Celebration 2027 tickets. Let's see.
I'm gonna search 2026 even.
Anything sold recently?
I don't see the sold stuff. Is it possible
No, there's
I'm
nothing
missing
here.
it?
No,
Yeah,
there's nothing
I don't see it. I think if anything, I'm gonna say it. I think Jim may have missed out on something, and he's got sour grapes like the people that are crying about the Sting Big Rubber Guys, and he's making a mole into a cancerous tumor here. I don't think it's that prevalent. I don't think it's that much of a problem, and I stand by it. If someone's able to buy tickets before I can and they can profit off them, good for you. You were quicker than I was. I'll try to be quicker next time.
Yeah, I don't see any on eBay at all.
Yeah, and Jim, if I'm missing it, please, I'm not calling you a liar. I just don't see it. So email us like screenshots of these things, because if I see what you're talking about, it may change my opinion. But with what I'm able to see right now, I don't really have a problem with what I'm seeing because it doesn't seem to be a problem.
Yeah, for sure. Yagin asked, what are your thoughts on how much time you should get while getting an autograph or a photo op with a guest, especially if the price is exorbitant? Well, this is an interesting one, right? Because, we're used to photo ops are ready, and that's it. Or in the autographs, usually a little bit longer. But what do you expect if you're paying, $800 for an autograph? Do you expect a little attention?
I don't think the price matters. Hot take, perhaps. I don't think the price matters at all. The price is the caliber of the name you're with. You pay for the fame, not the experience when you're paying more money. Michael Douglas does not owe me a better experience than Casper Van Dien because I'm paying 5 times, 6 times, 7 times the price. He says he's a bigger name. If anything, I'm going to get a lesser experience because it's a bigger name. They want to do less interacting. They have to move it quicker, whatever. So I don't think price and extend time are really things that correlate. I think in general, if you walk up to an autograph table, whether you have 1 item or 20 items, actually 20 items, you should have a little more time. To me, a perfect experience, a perfect experience for me is 30 seconds. I can wrap my head around up to 2 minutes. 2 minutes from the start of the interaction to the goodbye, that is to me the equivalent of what a full experience should be. That is the extent of it. If you're doing 3, 4, 5, 6, even if the talent's willing to do that, to me, you're being abusive to the people behind you. We have things to do, places to be, experiences to have. Everyone can't have that. You're not better than everyone else. Just because you watched Star Wars when you were 9 and it stopped you from killing yourself because your hamster died. It doesn't matter. It's not that unique of an experience, and you don't deserve more than 120 seconds. And for the photo op, honestly, ready next. That's how it has to be. It's got to be quick. If you want an experience more than that, go to the table. And if you want an experience more than 2 minutes, well, I don't know. Then wait for them to do a $5,000 smoke with you package, and you probably get at least 5 to 8 minutes that way.
I'm gonna push back a little bit. I mean, the photo op is fine. The photo op should be instant. I do think at the table, if I'm paying a lot of money for the autograph, I expect it to be competently executed with a good pen. You know what I mean?
I'm not disagreeing with that, but you need more than 2 minutes to do that?
No. I don't think it's a function of time. I do think it's a function of care. And I think that they should take care when they're charging that much. That it should not be a cattle call kind of thing where you pass the item to the handler who passes it to the person when it's that much money.
Okay. Devil's advocate. I'm going to use Casper Van Dien as an example. Not a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money by normal standards, but not a Michael Douglas price. Would you be less upset if Casper Van Dien's line at his price was run that way? Is price really a factor here? Or is it just a matter of respect of how your item should be handled?
Well, you're right to some extent, but I also think if I pay a small amount, I paid a small amount for Jeremy Sumpter, $40, and because of the pen fiasco, and because we were like cramped on that little table, my graph didn't come out great. And I was not terribly thrilled. But like, okay, it was $40. What am I? We were kind of cramped on a small table in Chiller. If I paid a lot of money, I expect an experience that gets me my item exactly as I intended. I do. So like, I'm not gonna lie. If Michael Douglas, they're like rushing us through or something, I'm gonna be mad. They better hold my poster. They better let me wait for it to dry. Stuff like that.
I don't know about. Well, I hear you. I don't disagree with you. I think if you're expecting them to give you time for drying, I think.
Well, I mean, so they give me time so that the person holds it open while I'm getting my stuff away and then hands it to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would hope for that as well. I agree. Yeah, I think, but I think we can both agree that you really like, because Michael Douglas is expensive. It doesn't mean that we should have a 10-minute conversation with him about Wall Street.
No, of course not.
That's excessive. Great question.
And then finally from Brandon. Oh, it's funny because I brought this up before. What is it like waiting on the edge of a set? Have you guys ever been shown in a TV show or movie by accident? Well, to the second one, no, because you only ever really waiting off to the side by a trailer where there's no cameras anywhere near you. So no. But what is it like waiting on the edge of a set?
It's long. It is a long process almost always. We've had a couple of exceptions where it wasn't. Matt Damon was like 90 seconds from when we walked up to when we saw him and got him. That was a difference. Then you have the flip side, Willie Garson, where we waited hours and hours and hours and hours. Oftentimes, I mean, it's like anything else when you're in the wild. You have most of the staff that you will encounter, the PAs, the production assistants, most of them are sort of the enemy of the graphers. They're not there to help you. They will lie. They will try to deceive and sort of deter. And, oh, I don't think they're going to stop, or they're not coming today, or whatever. It's very rare we've met people on these sets that work there that are helpful. I've seen a couple, not a ton. So you really can't trust or really, lean on these people for information or guidance. You have to sort of do your own thing. And, it used to be a really good way to meet people and get like big names. One of my more humorous examples was Lanzer and I were waiting on the set of Limitless, which was the Bradley Cooper movie. And we were waiting for Bradley Cooper. And while we're waiting for Bradley Cooper, a bicycle rides by. And on the bicycle is, of course, Leo DiCaprio. And he rides by us and he stops at the corner. Maybe 15 feet away from us, 20 feet away from us yielding to the red light. So Lanzer and I are trying to figure out, like, we know what he's like, but we're trying to figure out, like, is there a play? Do we approach him at the corner? How do we break the ice? Well, what's the opener? And as we're doing this, one of the PAs sees Leo on the bike and starts shouting at him, "We're filming! You can't go this way!" And he, of course, gets skittish because he's Leo and he hates attention. And at that point, he like turns left and right and looks back and looks around and sees us like looking at him. And at that point, he knew the jig was up. Everyone but the PA knew who he was. So he kind of just, did a little Yui and zipped away. That was probably the most random thing I've had happen on a set. But it's cool. And once in a while, if you like meet the person, like I would never wait by the act of filming because it's not the best place to meet them. But I will say, when I've met people before, I think even you and I did this. We saw them film a couple takes with like SVU. It's always cool to see how many times they run through a take for the same thing. And then you watch it on TV. You're like, holy cow, that took like 3 hours to film. Yeah,
I mean, usually the problem is when I'm on a set like that, I'm really hyper fixated on like when are they done? When are they coming and going? When is this over with? I want to get to the witching hour already, as we say, right? So, like I remember when we were waiting on the set of SVU that time, and we were really just waiting for them to arrive. That was the move, forget about waiting during the filming. So I think that day for SVU, the first one to arrive, was it Belzer or was it Stephanie March? It was one of those two.
I think it was Bells with the damn dog.
Belzer had the dog. He was super nice. And then Stephanie March, you're right, because the Stephanie March I saw walking down the block. And then after that was it Ice-T and then Mariska at the end?
I think so. Ice hopped out of the Escalade, and Mariska had her like Cody Rhodes like tour bus,
right?
Which her and Maloney like famously had. And then I think when Maloney left, like they didn't like give the tour bus to Ice-T. It just like the tour bus just went away. and there was one tour bus. And so that was always there. Like that was the power struggle there. Who would have, like, you would be able to, and also with trailers, you didn't see like Mariska on the trailer. Sometimes you would see like Olivia or Benson or something, and when it was a real like more private type of set, you would see like, Bradley Cooper's character's name is John, and it would say like Omaha is his trailer, and Christian Bale's trailer would say Mississippi, and it would have no, just word would travel through the communities that you would know Omaha is Cooper, and it would just be like, it's all code word. Sometimes the project itself on the permit was code word. It wouldn't say Blue Bloods. It would say whatever. Like certain things would go more codey than other things.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm talking too much out of turn here, but when we say we're waiting on a set, that's really not entirely accurate. What we're really looking for are the trailers, because at the end of the day, you're getting them coming into or out of their trailer. You're not really coming in and out of set so much as you are in and out of trailer. And the trailers are all kind of near each other. And the one thing about New York City, it's the city streets. The trailers are not hard to find. You find the trailer. You got to look, you got to get a sense of where the neighborhood is, and you walk around and find the trailers. The whole art is seeing which trailer is which. Yeah. That takes a little bit of
And with some of the bigger names, real quick story, my white whale was Will Smith for years. And when he was filming Collateral Damage, I think it was called, Collateral Beauty. He was filming that in the city. Everyone was getting him. And I finally, I failed on him at talk shows and different things, and I finally went. And the day I picked to go was in Brooklyn somewhere. And I remember I drove in. It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was pouring rain the whole while I was going. And I thought to myself, what am I doing? Like, it's like an outdoor set, and which is where it is sometimes pouring rain. What's going to happen? They're not even going to be there. But I was in too deep. I had to try, and I pulled up. And as I saw the trailer, I also saw the SUV parked behind it. So you knew that was his trailer. It was big, and the SUV's there. And I got out. That was almost like to the Matt Damon level. I parked my car on the block. I ran out, and he comes bopping up the street with his guard. It was one-on-one. And I don't know who the hell gets Will Smith one-on-one. And he was nice as could be. And then, of course, as I'm standing there, like reveling in the success, like texting people, by the time he comes out, somehow like 8 or 9 people like materialized, and it wasn't one-on-one anymore. And they were, like, had I missed that opening, I would have been screwed, because I think he did like 1 or 2 selfies, and then they sort of whisked them back to set. Coming back with just me, it worked out, and I got a perfect shot with him. But they're not always as easy as they seem. Certain sets were better on the actual set. They wouldn't do it by the trailer. It was a lot about learning the different tendencies of the people and the production crews and all that stuff. And I don't know, nowadays I don't see many successes anymore. I would love to know, people that are out there that do it, let me know. Has it changed that you really can't succeed, or is it just that there's less things filming that people try for, and the success is still out there, you just don't see people doing it as much? I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, I do think that graphing TV sets and movie sets is a great way to learn the street game in this hobby. I think it's pretty accessible. I think if you spend, and even if you don't have a lot of knowledge, if you spend a lot of time, you can gain knowledge, right? You gotta observe your surroundings. It's really, I think, a great beginner way of doing this. Figure out from the signage when things are filming. Show up and look for the trailers. You're gonna have to put in some time, and you're gonna have to look at when people are coming and going, and getting a sense of things, and being nice to the PAs as much as possible, and recognizing that half the time they'll lie to you and half the time they won't. And the nicer you are and the saner you are, the more likely you are to get a positive result.
Yes, and also keep in mind film sets on city streets. Long Island film sets are historically bad, because what they'll do is they'll make base camp in a parking lot, and the parking lot is technically private property in the cases of where they set it up. And you can't just go stand outside the trailer. Security will stop you. We've wasted our time. The best Long Island experience we ever had was Darren Criss, and that wasn't an amazing experience, but that was public enough we were able to have access. I've failed many times because I have no access. I tried for Aaron Paul once in Northport, and I didn't get within 100
Well,
yards of that trailer.
Well, I mean, look, if you're in a city where they have to park on the street and they have to get city permits for their trailers, they're stuck. They're out in public. But if they're out in the suburbs where they can park on private lots, all bets are off.
Yep, very
So,
true.
Keep that in mind. All right. So what's coming up for us? Well, we have Fanatics Fest. Well, you have Fanatics Fest. I don't. I'm very glad I don't. Are you excited about this, or at this point, this is like a chore or what?
No, it's probably the best lineup I've ever seen as far as what I'm getting. It's insane, insanely stacked. I'm definitely excited.
So Chicago Fan Expo, we still haven't announced the Sharpie Social, and that's because our very own little rat, Zach Linder, has now promised that he wants to pick the venue of the Sharpie Social. So as soon as he finds a spot, we will have our info for our Sharpie Social.
I love how you're putting this on the little rat when even if he wasn't finding the spot, we still probably wouldn't post it yet because we procrastinate. But yes,
I mean he said it yesterday. He said, "I'll find the spot." It was Friday. He said that,
and I'm all for it. I respect Zach for doing it, and I think he will definitely take me somewhere where there's no apps or reward points, which I'm not happy about.
There you go. Of course, we have Dallas Fan Expo coming up in September, and we're not planning anything for that for a while. When we do, we'll let you know. Of course, in August, I still have the Keanu Reeves Simple Plan thing. There's a very good chance I'm gonna be very honest. There's a very good chance I'm not gonna know exactly what that day looks like until that morning if the emails don't come until that day. Then I'll get a sense of what I can do.
The idea that I've been monitoring, I have joined a Dog Star Facebook group, which is a very deep and dark place where these women are weird and they complain about being ripped off like repeatedly. They've been ripped off repeatedly by fake accounts that go on this group to sell meet and greets that aren't real. And it baffles me that you can be ripped off repeatedly with the same grift, but whatever. I joined it just to monitor these meet and greets. And honestly, the last two are like flawless. Keanu's awkward looking in the picture, but that's who he is. You're not getting a pose or an arm around or anything. He's going to stand there awkwardly like you just drowned his dog and just stare at the camera. That's who he is. But they look good. They're not. No one's getting group ups with all the fans. The velvet rope has even left the last couple stops. You're directly next to them. I don't know what you're expecting. I mean, I guess if you value the experience at Simple Plan, like I don't know how this is even a question. Like the Keanu thing is the way it's looking, it's going to exceed the wildest expectations. I
think it's more about what my day will look like and how I'm going to navigate exactly, because there's a possibility I can do both is the issue. So it really depends on what. If you skip
Keanu and pick this, if you can't do both, I think you're nuts. I don't think that shouldn't even be a possibility. The way it's
see what happens. We'll see. And then I know we've talked about this 100 times, right? And then you have Chance the Rapper as well, which you're also excited about. And then you paid for that, or that's still not even yet?
No, I paid like $400, I think.
Oh Jesus, $400 for that?
He's big, bro.
Is 400 big?
I think so. Yeah.
That seems a little bit crazy to me.
He had a moment. It looked like he was going to be Drake. He was going to take over for Drake. And then he dropped that project after coloring book that just was like, I love my wife on every song. And it kind of killed his career in a really like profound way. And what he made his last album was sort of getting back to coloring book a little bit, like acid rap. I mean, he was big. He was big, and he also moves. He moves, and you see videos of him out and about. He moves like the president. He's got people around him. You're not running up on him. So you pay it or you don't. And I did.
Got it. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out autograph collecting community on Facebook. So I think that's it for this week.
I think we've said it all. Stay tuned for next week if we go to another pool party.
I would say nothing like that's coming up, but really, we didn't even know about Snoop until 2 days before it happened.
I mean, maybe we're going to be seeing Jay-Z at some event in a couple days. Who knows?
Anything can happen. That's the beauty of the summer, is that we have the agility to just make something happen at the last minute.
And it's also the beauty of the Marked Out autograph collecting community. If you want to be plugged into the place where you could spend X amount of dollars that I'm not allowed to say in a moment's notice and meet someone you maybe didn't think you'd ever get to meet, you got to join that group, because that's where these things happen all the time. All this
you
info
go.
is constantly moving.
All right. So we good?
We're good.
All right. So for markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
I'm Dana.
And we will see you next